Osamu Tezuka was known as the god of manga. And throughout the years, he came out with so many amazing works. Probably the most prolific mangaka that we ever known. The creator of Astro Boy, probably most famously. Also came out with Blackjack, which is an amazing manga. Some more of his works I have here. Clockwork Apple. The Book of Human Insects. And Ode to Kirihito? One of his most famous stories was Dororo. And Atsushi Kaneko has adapted that and changed the whole story into this awesome, cerebral, brutal cyberpunk story called Search and Destroy. Fantagraphics released the first volume last year, and this week they're now releasing the second volume, so out this week at your comic book shops. So I'm going to flip the camera around, put these two under the microscope, and show off what makes this manga from Atsushi Kaneko, based on Osamu Tezuka's story, so amazing. Stay tuned and watch this video until the end. And we're back. My name is Taylor. This is Taylor Talks Comics, or perhaps Taylor Talks Manga today. But thank you for joining me. Please give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below with any of your thoughts throughout the duration of this video. Comment down below with your favorite Osamu Tezuka books or manga. I'd like to hear that too. I haven't read everything he put out, so I'm always open to suggestions. And subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification icon. I release videos fairly regularly, and especially with Fantagraphics, I usually have early release videos the week of a lot of their books coming out. So if you're into Fantagraphics output, you don't want to miss any of my videos either. So yes, today we're talking about Search and Destroy by Atsushi Kaneko. Full disclosure, I have not read Dororo by Osamu Tezuka. It's one that I haven't read. I just haven't got my hands on a copy. So as far as what they changed from that story to this, I won't be able to speak to too much. And by all means, in the comments down below, if you know that kind of context, let me know. I love learning those things. But what I do understand is I think that's like a big samurai story. So for Atsushi Kaneko to then take that, flip it on its head, and make it to this like dystopian future cyberpunk story is really, really cool. And now after reading this, I definitely want to go back and read Dororo, because I want to know what changed and what part of the story is actually there in that original one. First off, as you'll notice, these are beautifully designed. Like, these are some of the coolest looking books I have in my collection. I love that the Search and Destroy is like going this way on volume 1 and then coming out and at the reader on volume 2. Now, I will say quickly, there will be a volume 3 which will finish the series. So this is only going to be a 3-volume series. And that comes out later this year, this fall, from Fantagraphics. So it's a 3-and-done manga series. So I know a lot of manga readers are always trepidatious about starting a new series that's 45 volumes or what have you. Only 3 for this one, which is great. And it'll be concluded this year, which is also great. But these were designed by Ryan McCardle and I think it's Tezuka Communications, or how's it? Designed by Tezuka Productions and Ryan McCardle. Now, Ryan McCardle sadly passed away earlier this year. He was one of the book designers for Fantagraphics. I don't know what hand he had on this and what hand. I don't know if this is one of those things where these are what the books originally looked like from Tezuka Productions when they're in Japanese when they first released, and then Ryan just changed a lot of it to English and put his own spin on things, or if it's mostly his work, I don't know, but I can tell you that these are beautifully designed. So those are the front covers. They look kind of like movie posters too, which I love. Here's the spines. They have a very cohesive design as well. I'm assuming volume 3 will look the same. So they're going to look great on your shelf. And then here is the back covers for both of these. They both do have French flaps, which continue the design on either side. And then on the front French flap at least. And then on the back one, you have a picture of Atsushi Kaneko with a little bio. Here's the opening French flap. Oh, I guess it doesn't continue the design of volume 2. Volume 2 has a bunch of blurbs about the story. And then you get the same picture of Atsushi Kaneko. Now, each of them start off with a kind of a prologue, but it's kind of like a pre-credit scene if you're watching a movie. There's very much of a cinematic approach to both of these, or to the story, I guess. in a lot of things, not just that, but you get the little prologue, and then you get the search and destroy title lettering. And then on this one, on volume 1, you get a little introduction by Federico Anzalone, who's a manga specialist, and he writes for the French leading publications of Adam Magazine. So I think he's like a critic of manga, or writer about manga, and he calls it the Pretty Hate Machine. And then we get the chapter titles, or sorry, the chapters and page numbers. Now, the only page numbers you'll find in the book are whenever there's a chapter break. And it does match up there, but otherwise you don't have any other page numbers. And then, as far as book design goes, let me finish it off here. You do get the finish of it. It says volume 1 at the end, and then you get the credits right here with some special thanks and things. And I don't think there's an introduction all on volume 2. Yeah, I think it just goes right into the story. Here's the prologue for volume 2. And then the title. And then the contents. Yeah, there's no introduction on that one. And then here's a volume 3 preview in the back of this one. So, that's what it is. This one has an afterword by Peach Momoko. And you get a little picture of Peach Momoko doing the character of Hayaku. And her writing a little bit about him. Peach Momoko is a mangaka from Japan, but she's been doing a lot of work with Marvel lately. She's been doing the Ultimate X-Men story or line, which is amazing. It's one of my favorite Marvel comics out right now, so it's really cool to see that. And I can totally see Peach Momoko, like, this totally fits her style. And then you get Search and Destroy Volume 3 coming out. This is 2026 spring, but I think it is coming out this fall though. So it's the explosive finale. So what is this about? Like I said, it's based on Dororo by Osamu Tezuka, but it is this dystopian future, post-apocalyptic, not even post-apocalyptic, I don't want to say that, because it's dystopian future in a cyberpunk. And you read through Atsushi Kaneko's influences through the introduction, you'll find out that Kaneko is influenced by cinema, film, B-movies, cyberpunk stories, different mangaka that he's influenced by, but also Western comics. And he cites Dan Klaus and some of the other Fantagraphics releases that he's a fan of. And all that is kind of the recipe for the soup that you get with his story. And it's all filtered through a kind of a punk rock lens too. There's some punk ethos instilled in throughout here too, which I love. So the story itself is about you have like a disparity of different creatures getting along. You'll have full 100% robots, you'll have full humans, and you'll have like the cyborgs. And there's this constant kind of racial tension between the three of them, of who is more pure, who is the future of the world. Not unlike Chris Claremont X-Men kind of thing with Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants versus the humans. It's kind of like a similar three-way kind of ongoing war about that. Here's your main character, Hayaku, who we find out has these robotic legs and his robotic arms and maybe some other robot parts about her. And she just goes through, and this is brutal and violent. It's totally like canon films, like brutal 80s films, but in the best way with some of the coolest artwork you'll ever find. Here's her little friend right here that she comes across. She's on the cover right here and kind of follows her along. Not so much like a Lone Wolf and Cub style, because they both, it's almost like Freak the Mighty if you read that novel back when you were a kid. It's most like the strengths that Hayaku has. I forget this girl's name. I'm terrible with remembering character names. But the little girl, her strengths are Hayaku's weaknesses, and Hayaku's strengths are this little girl's weaknesses. So they're a perfect pair to travel through this world together that's violent and dangerous and grimy and gritty. The character design here, this reminds me of something out of a Dan Klaus comic, so that's where like the Dan Klaus influence I feel like came through. And some of the facial expressions too has like that David Lynchian kind of like eeriness to it that I feel like fits in with the Kaneko's film influence, and then also Daniel Klaus, I feel like had some David Lynchian things going on in his comics. But yeah, it's brutal in nature. So what we find out, I'm gonna try not to spoil too much, but the whole premise of the story is that this is a revenge story. And Haiku, we find out she was like experimented on and her body parts removed, her eyes were removed, her legs, her arms, and she is now on a revenge tour through the world to find out who has stolen those limbs and those eyes, and she's going to retrieve them and put herself back together as 100% human. And I guess it just works in this world. You can transplant body parts onto other people, onto robots and cyborgs, back onto yourself if you find your old limbs and your eyes and things. That's just an understanding the world has, and it's fine. Like I totally get it. There's some really cool technology bits in here too. Like this is like a hologram image that they're at this meeting. Like this is the only human in the meeting. The other ones are hologrammed in. You know, you've seen those things in like Star Wars and other sci-fi stories. But all kinds of cool technology bits that Kaneko found cool creative ways to put into his artwork, which I really enjoyed. But this was just a blast. It's a thrilling story. It's a pretty quick read, but all the character designs and things and ideas that Kaneko comes out with were just amazing. Like this is totally a breath of fresh air, totally like unlike any other manga that I've read over the last few years, and a must read for any fan of manga or any fan of just like cool cyberpunk violent comics that are, I don't know, like a blast to read with fun ideas. Like this is total fun comics, and I can't wait till volume 3 comes out to see how this concludes on this story, because it doesn't have a lot of like cool political sociological battles too, between who's in charge and who's running the country and things, which remind me a lot of like Akira, which is another great cyberpunk manga, probably the greatest cyberpunk manga. So there's a lot of that going on too, but it's all like really interesting. It's not boring political nonsense. And yeah, just total brilliant work. This image, some of these images too, kind of gave me some Charles Burnsian type vibes as well. So it's just great to see this mangaka that has all these influences outside of your typical just manga. That he has influences outside of Western comics and puts it all into that soup, like I said, of this really cool comic. So I'm a total fan of Atsushi Kaneko. I can't wait till volume 3 comes out. I hope Fantagraphics can release some of his other works, which I think one of them was called Her Pink Gun. Oh, Bambi and Her Pink Gun was the groundbreaking work from him. And he also had some subversive and surprising series, including Soil, Wet Moon, Death Co., and Evil. So I'm hoping that Fantagraphics can work out a way to release all of his other works, because I'm a fan. Atsushi Kaneko, I want to read everything you've ever put out. Please put it into English. But that's it. Search and Destroy. Please let me know in the comments if you've read Dororo, if you have any interest in reading this, what your thoughts were on that, what your favorite cyberpunk comics or manga are. That's a video I've always wanted to do, was like favorite cyberpunk comics. Someone put that in the comments to remind me. And then, yeah, give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and keep talking manga.